Well, welcome everyone. It looks like a small group tonight, but thank you for coming. My name is Eunice Kim. I'm the Long Range Planning Manager for the City of Salem. And tonight we're here talking about Parks and Recreation as part of the Our Salem project. I just wanted to let other staff here introduce themselves. Austin, Rob, and Patricia.
Hi, I'm Austin Ross, Long Range Planner with the City of Salem.
Hi, I'm Rob Romanak, and I'm a Parks Planner.
Patricia Farrell, I'm the Parks and Natural Resources Planning Manager for the City of Salem.
So tonight is our fifth, I think, policy meeting. We've been meeting every week to talk about a different topic related to our Salem and growth and development in the community. And tonight's Parks and Recreation. I'm going to start with just a brief overview of the project and where we are in the project. And then we're really going to break this meeting into kind of three sections. The first section is going to focus on what we're calling previously drafted policies. These are ideas that we've written down and developed based on all of the work and the visioning that we did over the last year and a half or 2 years. And these are ideas that were included in a vision document that I'll talk about in a second. The second portion is really going to be about new policy ideas. These are ideas that we've researched in other communities to see, what policies do they have related to parks and recreation, and do they make sense for Salem? And then we'll open it up for your ideas. Anytime you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat, or if you have any comments, feel free to do the same. And it's a small group, so you could probably also unmute. We'll see how many folks join us. So just as a reminder, the Our Salem project is a multi-year project to update what's known as our comprehensive plan. This is the large framework that really guides how we grow and develop in the future over the next 10, 20, 30 years. It includes goals and policies and a map that really, again, guide that growth. It influences everything from where different types of housing are located in the community, different types of businesses, what our priorities are for our park system or transportation system, how we kind of prioritize or protect and preserve our natural resources and our environment. So it's pretty big and broad. And so today we're going to work on some of those details, though. So this is a map that hopefully you're familiar with. The black dashed line is the Salem city limits. And then the gray area is what we refer to as our portion of the urban growth boundary. This is a portion of the urban growth boundary that the comprehensive plan influences, and it's this gray area that includes unincorporated areas of Marion and Polk County. And so when you hear people talking about 60,000 more people by 2035, it's this gray area that they're referring to, not just the city limits. This is really our opportunity to plan for growth as it occurs. There's been a lot of development throughout the community in recent years, and it obviously has impacts on everything from, again, the environment to housing. And so this is really our opportunity, again, to guide that growth. So we reached a major milestone in the project in March, where we took all of the kind of information that we've gathered in the last year and a half, 2 years, and we rolled it up to high-level goals across, again, a pretty broad range of topics from housing, transportation, the environment, parks and rec. And we also brought together a high-level proposed map, a proposed comprehensive plan map, and that's all included in a vision document that we brought to City Council in March. And we did that because we wanted to make sure we were headed in the right direction before we started working on the details. And so we asked for acceptance of that document. Again, a check-in. Is this the high-level framework that we should be working within? And they did accept that vision. It was not a formal adoption process, so nothing is set in stone, but is the framework within which we're now trying to work on further details. There's a lot of details when it comes to this project. We're working on the zoning code, so regulations. We're working on the zoning map, so proposed changes to zoning across the city, as well as policies. And so tonight we're really focusing in on those policies and trying to get those details right. So again, this is the fifth weekly meeting we've had. We've touched on housing, economic development, engagement, equity, and transportation already. Next week, if you're interested in the environment, natural resources, we will be here. And we're having the meetings twice a day. So we've had a lot of people join us during the noon meeting, but you're welcome to join us in the evening as well tonight. And the material is the same. We're really trying to have kind of an interactive discussion with the community about kind of what your priorities and ideas are as we start diving into the details. So tonight's Parks and Recreation. So for each section of the meeting tonight, we are going to present different ideas to you, and then we're going to give you an opportunity to actually weigh in through some interactive polling that we're doing. You can do that by texting on your phone or through your web browser, either on your phone or on your computer. And again, at any time, feel free to drop a question in the chat. And I will actually put some information in the chat so you can look at how to join. You can join the interactive polling by putting pollev.com/EuniceKim347 in your web browser, or you can text on your phone to 22333. So instead of texting to one of your contacts or a phone number, you text my name, EuniceKim347, to that number, 22333, and it should welcome you to the session. As we go through each question, it will automatically refresh if you're using your web browser, so you don't need to worry about kind of clicking to make sure it moves forward. And then on your phone, you can just text the answer. So we're going to give it a shot to see if it works. If this is working for you, please text or enter A. If not, B. And if you have questions, feel free again to drop it in the chat. Or if it's not working, let us know. Or you can just unmute. There's only a few of us here. It does not work in the chat. But if you can click on the link in the chat, the pollev.com, that should work.
I guess it's maybe worth mentioning, if you choose not to do the live polling, let us know so we're not waiting for you.
Well, someone is asking, how do you know if it didn't work? The results will show up live on this screen here. So if you're texting or you're picking A or B, it will show up on this screen. Do you want to unmute? Does anyone want to unmute and let us know what's not working? Oh, so it's working for one person. Oh, okay. So let me drop the link again in the chat and see if that works. Any chance you can click on the link and see if that works? Awesome, we might need to troubleshoot.
Happy to help. Are you working? I'm not seeing the chat that's going on. So are you trying to do it via text or via web browser? I see the one result. I'm not sure whether which person that came from. So.
Jeffrey, can you hear me? Is that your vote?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, let's keep rolling then.
Sounds good. So there's a lot of planning that's going on across the community. And so a lot of it overlaps with the Our Salem project, so we wanted to make sure to mention them. One of the big projects is the Climate Action Plan. This is Salem's first Climate Action Plan that Patricia and Rob are actually heading up. And it's looking at different strategies to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions in Salem, as well as build a more resilient community. A lot of the strategies that come out of that plan we will incorporate or roll up into policies for Our Salem project and vice versa. So we're coordinating very closely on that. In addition, the Comprehensive Park System Master Plan is expected to be updated after the Our Salem project. That master plan is actually a component of the comprehensive plan. So a lot of the policies and detailed projects and guidelines related to Parks and Recreation, while we're gathering the information here, will actually end up and be carried forward to that update of the Comprehensive Parks System Master Plan. In addition, there's a lot of specific master plans that are happening related to specific parks. So those are the kind of projects where you'll be able to talk about, the type of amenities perhaps that you want to see in a specific park. And so there's kind of a lot of layers of planning that's going on, but it's all related and we're all working together on it. So this is a vision statement that we brought forward in our Salem vision document to City Council last month. And I just wanted to highlight that it does talk about open spaces and the environment. These are things that we heard during our visioning process over the last year and a half, 2 years, that are valued in the community and are really shared priorities. And so this vision statement represents what the community really wants Salem to be in the future. So today, when we start talking about kind of goals and policies, we're talking about kind of supporting that vision and how to get there. This is just a sample of the goals related to Parks and Recreation that are in that vision document that was accepted by the council. They're pretty big and broad. The first one you'll see here has to do with making sure we have a comprehensive network of paths, parks, and recreation facilities, and also making sure that we're serving people of all ages, incomes, and cultures, whether it comes to our parks or our recreation programs. We have a goal related to equity, which is a new goal that we currently don't have, and making sure that we're considering equity when we make investments in our parks and recreational facilities. And then the last one you see here is the idea of making sure that our parks are places where people can gather, communities can gather, and they can really celebrate their diversity and their neighborhood identity. Something that we've heard, again, throughout this project as well as other planning projects we've done in the community. So the goal of tonight is to really kind of drill down more into the details of what do we mean by some of these and how can we support them with more detailed policies. So I'm going to hand it over to Austin now, who's going to walk through some of the previously drafted policies.
Thanks, Eunice. So like Eunice was saying, we're going to start with some policies that came from our earlier outreach in the project. These policies were presented in the vision document that was accepted by council. But you'll see here that if you looked at that vision document, that the ideas have been summarized in these slides. So our goal tonight isn't to wordsmith the policy ideas, it's to test the idea behind it and make sure that that's something the community wants to carry forward. So what we're asking you to do is vote for the ideas that you like. You'll be able to vote for more than one or all of them if you choose. And it's important to remember that this is just a small sample of the policies that we're considering. So we definitely encourage you to go visit the project website where you can see the whole list of 100, 200 policy ideas that we're considering in the project, and a good number of those that relate to parks and recreation. It's also important to understand some of the detail in the wording with these policy ideas. So when you see something like encourage or promote, that suggests that we would use incentives to help get to that goal. And when you see words like require, that's more of a mandate from the city. So just understanding these ideas and whether we're talking about requirements or incentives is important. And then the last thing is that if you have questions along the way, feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll do our best to answer them, whether it's a clarifying question to ask more about what the intent of the policy is, or whether it's just a question about the topic in general. And if you have comments, definitely drop them in there as well. We're using the text of the chat to help inform the project, and we've been sharing the chat text on the project website as well so that people can see that record. So we'll jump over to the first set of policy ideas. And I already see a note in the chat too. So we'll get to that in just a moment. So this first set of previously drafted policy ideas is about opportunities for parks and recreation. The first one is really about having a comprehensive network of park and recreation facilities to serve the community as it grows. So that's expanding and making sure that we're serving all parts of the community. The one about diversity is about having different types of park and rec facilities and facilities that meet the needs of people of all ages and abilities. So it's about having a range of ways that people can use those facilities. The one about innovation is about pursuing new park types. So it goes along with the diversity of park type idea. Right now we have certain types of parks, but maybe there are some other park formats that might be able to fill in some gaps in our system, whether that's a pocket park or a linear park that's more of a trail or something like that, that can serve other needs. And then the policy about trails is expanding a network of trails throughout the Salem area. So really thinking holistically about the set system of trails that we have and making sure they're interconnected and supporting each other. So we'll jump over to the poll now. And like I said, you're voting for all of them that you like. So you can go vote for all of them or just one or a few, whatever makes sense to you. And while you're voting, I'm gonna jump over to the policy ideas so that you can see them while you vote. And in that chat, it says, need your help in how to preserve valuable open space, maybe a conservation land trust, any grants available. Rob or Patricia, do you wanna speak to those possibilities?
Yeah. I guess I guess that, you know, part of the purpose of a park system is to preserve open space. So that's chiefly a part of what we're talking about here. I think a land trust, you know, that's maybe a separate discussion than we're having tonight. And grants, yes, there's grants, but I don't know if there's very many matches for Salem. It just depends. And you know, COVID has actually affected some of our grant resources. So it's something we're constantly watching.
I think there is, I think Greenbelt Land Trust does cover the urban area of Salem, but they're often not inclined to purchase land in urban areas. They tend to focus on more outlying areas that have larger acreage.
Can you hear me? This is Jeff James. I deal with Morningside as the land use chair. And on the Parks Master Plan, we've fulfilled the, what I call the asterisks on the Parks Master Plan. In our area, it shows one large asterisk, meaning a community park, which we've now, you've acquired Fairview Community Park. Then you show a small asterisk, which you ended up acquiring 7 acres off Reed Road. Our concern currently is we have a couple of really valuable open space, designated open space areas, at least one on the Fairview Master Plan, and that's an area we call the Woods. That was tried as a acreage subdivision last year and failed and went to Luber and was denied. At least the developer has given up on it. A more valuable piece is the Meyer Farm, which is an area with horses and llamas and 30 acres of open space that is a jewel in the center of Morningside. Well, Fairview is a jewel in the center of Morningside. This is another extremely valuable jewel. So we have a Facebook site called the Friends of the Meyer Farm, and we're looking for your ideas or recommendations on privately, if you've exhausted all the SDCs for a parks acquisition, how can we go about finding grants or funding to preserve that farm for I guess, future generations. So we're just asking for your professional help and advice. It may be off the topic tonight, but we don't have parks funds, I'm sure, to acquire that. So we're going to have to do it as a neighborhood, or as a group of neighbors that find that open space valuable. And, you know, it's something that when Senate Bill 100 was passed, we did not pick up all the elements of the Town and Country Planning Act of 1947, which has elements of open space in the comprehensive planning. Salem doesn't have designated open space in the comprehensive plan process, so we're going to have to tackle it another way, and we maybe could brainstorm that with you, and if you could keep those ideas coming on possible ways to accomplish saving our key areas of open space within our neighborhood and maybe all neighborhoods. So I think I've talked long enough, but that's the issue. Thanks.
I'll just add that I think the property you're referring to is adjacent to Hillficker Park.
Yes, it is.
So there may be an opportunity to add to the park. I don't know the details of what's happening with that property. My understanding is that
it's family owned, and half the family are in the mood to sell for development. The other half are hope to save it in some form of trust. And then the Morningside Neighborhood Association has passed a unanimous resolution supporting that idea. So now it's up to the folks to see how that could be pulled off and kept with the family, hopefully with public access trails through it that would link up with our, planned trail system that would link Fairview Park to Reed Road Park to Hillficker Park, and this is adjacent on the north side to Hillficker Park. Rob was at our workshop meetings, of course, led the workshop meetings for Hillficker, and has discussed that there's opportunities south of Hillficker Park for increasing the size. Well, this is on the north side, except the transportation plan shows Hillficker pushed through as a collector streets, dividing the two. That's a complication, but they are adjacent to one another. Continuous open space. Yeah. So it's like Hyde Park with the road going through it.
Well, we'd be happy to talk to the family if and when they're ready to talk about parks.
They'd love to. Yeah,
or donation, or better yet, donation of land.
Yes, there's an idea.
All right, it sounds like that'll be a topic for ongoing conversation, and
yeah.
I'm glad we're making a connection here. Why don't we keep rolling through these slides, and we'll also have more time at the end for additional conversation. So this next set of ideas is still about opportunities for Parks and Rec. We just have a lot of ideas about that topic. So the first one is about equity and providing an equitable distribution of parks throughout the city, especially in areas that are underserved currently. The next one is about preserving natural open space. So recognizing that some of our land might be valuable as undeveloped open space for either recreation or its value as habitat and to help protect the environment. So that would be a policy about that. The one about the Willamette River is about utilizing the Willamette as a recreational asset by enhancing access, enhancing existing facilities, and expanding them to make sure that it's serving more people. And then the one about land is about coordinating with developers and property owners to acquire land for future parks. And so that could happen when a subdivision takes place, or just more broadly as well. And I think a couple of these ideas get at what we were just talking about. So we'll jump over to the poll if folks want to participate in that, but we can also just have a conversation about these ideas as well.
I think it's a small enough group. Yeah, if you're welcome to vote, but if you have a question or comment, feel free to speak up as well.
I don't see the vote. It disappeared. There it is.
It should still be active. I just wanted to make sure that people could see the full ideas while they were voting. So
I vote B.
I can record your vote for you.
Thank you.
And like I said, you're welcome to vote for as many of these as you'd like. Okay, so there's a comment that says there's confusion in that equity and equitable are not synonyms, though people today are trying to change the definition. Do you want to maybe unmute and explain that a little bit more? That would be helpful, I think, for me at least. So no pressure. Gotcha. No worries. So yeah, I do recognize that sometimes, well, welcome. We're glad that you're trying it out for the first time. I do recognize that there is a difference between equity and equitable. So in terms of park distribution, I think we would consider not just the parts of the city that don't necessarily have close access to a park, but also the types of parks or the types of users and other metrics. And I actually think we have a policy that, or a policy idea later in the presentation that might help kind of clarify that. So that's a good point. So why don't we jump over to the next set? We'll keep moving through these. This group is about connectivity and access. So the first is about increasing connections, whether they're on street or off street, for bicycle and pedestrian facilities. And so that's again about expanding the network of trails, but also making sure that we're providing connections to parks using those on and off street ways of access. The next one is about pedestrian access and improving pedestrian infrastructure so that we increase access to parks and recreational facilities. So making sure that we have good routes to our parks. The one about transit access is about locating parks and rec facilities, especially recreational facilities, in areas that are accessible by transit, so that people are more equitably able to access those facilities. So for folks who maybe don't have their own car or choose not to drive, they still have good options to get there. And the one about coordination is about working with property owners to increase public access to privately owned open spaces. So whether that's like a plaza that's located on private property, but might be able to be utilized by the public, or some other type of open space that could potentially have public value. So again, we have the poll, but feel free to either share comments in the chat or unmute if you can. It looks like our voter has voted. If if anybody has thoughts to share, otherwise, please do so. All right, we'll keep rolling then. So this next group is about community and culture. So the first is about providing places in parks for people to celebrate their diversity, to celebrate neighborhood identity, and to make sure that the parks that we have reflect the people who use them. The next one is about having parks that serve multiple purposes. So whether that's recreational space in addition to flood mitigation or educational space or a community garden, that would be more about using those park spaces in multiple ways. The one about gathering spaces is about providing spaces, especially covered spaces within parks, so that people can gather and utilize them even in inclement weather. And then the one about safety is about enhancing the safety of our parks through design, signage, and more. So we'll jump to the poll, but I already see a comment in the chat. Let's see. Got it. So yeah, I can jump to the poll really quick and then come back and describe them if that's helpful. That might have been our last group, but got it. That's good advice though, or good input. Thanks. So poll's still live. You can see what's going on there. Any other comments? All right, we'll keep going then. So just a chance for people to voice thoughts about the previously drafted policies that we've shared so far, or any questions, comments generally. And if not, I will hand it over to Rob, and he is going to take us through some new ideas. If a question or something pops into your head about those previously drafted ones, you're still welcome to drop them into the chat while Rob's talking. All right, take it away, Rob.
Yeah, good evening. So again, I'm a parks planner with Salem Public Works Department, and I think we picked 8 new ideas amongst the big list of new ideas that we have for parks and recreations. And real quick, I think when we get to the voting part, just the question is going to change a little now. So now we're going to be asking you if you like, don't like, or unsure about these new ideas that we're about to present. And so with that, Austin, you want to shift the first one? There we go. So the first one has to do with park access. And so the proposed policy here is strive to provide park access for all residents through a 10-minute walk, 20-minute bike ride, and 30-minute transit ride, and at least a 40 minutes of recreational activity. Now I can down what this is about. The reference to a 10-minute walk has to do with access to basic park and recreational resources close to home. So it's like a network of neighborhood parks. The 20-minute bike ride would be a reference to our community park system, so where you would access a greater diversity of park uses, organized sports and more developed facilities. So the expectation is that you could ride your bike and access one of those within 20 minutes. And then the 30-minute transit ride would be a reference to one of our urban parks, like Riverfront Park downtown. So there was a special event there. You could access that. Lastly, that reference is
Rob, we're having a hard time hearing you.
It's getting a little better. So I was saying, clear at every park enough to be occupied.
All right. I guess we'll go to the poll on this one. I'm having a hard time hearing Rob. But I think what he was saying is that for that 40-minute of recreation, it's making sure that each of those park types has enough to keep someone occupied for at least 40 minutes of recreational time. So with this one, we're just asking for a thumbs up or thumbs down about that policy idea. Is it a yes or a no, or maybe you're unsure? And that is a good point. We are all working through our internet capabilities from home. So sometimes it can get a little patchy. It looks like we've got our votes on that one though. So why don't we jump to the next one? And it looks like Rob is back.
Hopefully you can hear me again.
Yes.
So this next new idea has to do with universal design. The language here is design parks and recreational facilities for universal access and multi-generational uses. So the concept of universal design is simply that when we design new parks, we think about a wide range of people who will use it and make sure it's useful to them. So that could be, for a playground, it could be making sure that the playground could accommodate inclusive play for very, different people with autism as well as other children as well. So that would be an example. Another example of universal design is simply that it's intuitive for everyone what the use of the park is. So these are kind of maybe subtle design elements, but I think that they make a really big impact to making our parks welcoming for people. And last thing I want to highlight is that this one goes above and beyond the requirements of the Americans with Disability Act. So we're talking about making our parks accessible to everyone, not just the bare minimum requirements. Then Austin, am I a little clearer now? Could you just confirm for me?
Yeah, definitely. We can hear you better now.
Okay, moving along. This third one here is about safe access, and it's to develop a safe routes to parks program to promote safe, active, and engaging ways to access parks. So you may have heard of safe routes to schools. It's been a program that's been around for a while. So this is applying that concept to parks. So it could be actually making structural improvements to walking routes to parks, as well as it could be programs. It could also be wayfinding signage. I've seen in other communities where they put signs along preferred walking routes to parks, just to let the community know that this is a good way to, and if you walk along this path along the sidewalk, you will eventually get to a specific park that you might be looking for.
If anybody has comments about these as we go through them, please do share.
Yes, please.
All right.
Okay, this next one is about trail data. So it's to develop a publicly accessible citywide geographic information system data set for trails. Now, geographic information system is a big word, but it's just the technological system that we use to map things and to prepare maps. So this would be to create data that we could display maps to share with the community where the city trails are located. This system would also let us share that information with app developers and others who might be interested in the city's trail system. So it could be for many different uses. So I see we have, looks like this one is being positively received. Please let us know if you have any comments. I see the next one here, or excuse me, the next one, it has to do with art. So this one is to coordinate with the Public Art Commission during pre-design and design phases of new and renovated parks. The idea, this is a very popular idea when we have been going out to do park master planning with the community, is this concept of putting more art in Salem parks. And so this would really formalize that and create a relationship between parks and the Salem Public Art Commission. Yeah, so I see there's some mixed responses on that one, and that's fair. If you have a specific concern about art and parks, please share that. I see a few comments there in the chat. We had a suggestion in our previous session at midday that maybe we should be focusing on local artists. This next one is about demonstration gardens. So it's to encourage demonstration gardens to increase awareness of water, habitat, and energy conservation best practices. So this is common in other cities I've seen. It's simply to prepare a landscape in our park system to demonstrate what you could do at your own personal property, maybe your single family home. So if you were interested in reducing water consumption, if you want some ideas about an attractive landscape, we would demonstrate that at some parks, and you might be able to get some good ideas off from that. So that's the basic concept here. All right, so we have a yes and we have an unsure. So maybe a little bit more information about that one until we can drill down to some of the specifics. Well, just as we move on, I'll just say that one thing that we already do is that we have pollinator gardens in some of our parks, and so in a sense that's already demonstrate some habitat conservation strategies. This next one is about the city's park ranger program. So it would be to expand the park ranger program to all parks to protect resources, foster awareness and stewardship, and provide public safety. So the city has a pilot program. I believe it started at Minto Island Park, Riverfront Park, and Wallace Marine Park. And it's since expanded a little bit, but this concept is to take that to all parks. The ranger program may not visit every park every day, but it would be a resource to kind of make sure there was a friendly but authoritative presence at our park systems to enforce rules as well as to educate visitors and to be a liaison to them. So we have a yes here and another unsure. Yeah, I will also say that this policy certainly has a cost implication because it would be increasing the labor force of the city potentially. All right, maybe the next one. All right, I think this is our last one, and personally, it might be the most interesting of the bunch for me. So this one is about park access and equity metrics. So we talked a lot about equity and addressing need-based equity. And so to effectively do that, we would need some measurements and some tools to use to assess how we're doing. Austin, if you could just go back there, I'm going to read this one. This one is to use measurable criteria to prioritize future capital investments, including metrics that gauge equity. And so down listed below are some ways we could do that. One is to look at the age and the condition of existing parks. We could look at park capacity and recreational value compared to the surrounding population density. And then we could also do what we sort of do already, which is we look at access in terms of walking, but we could also look at biking and transit and some other access means as well. So just to kind of highlight what we mean by park capacity, we would just look at simply how many people does a park serve. And so that would help us paint a multi-dimensional picture of a park need, where right now we might just look at one of these aspects. We would be looking at multiple access together to come up with a more robust understanding of where there is need in our community. So another yes. Oh, 2 yeses. Yes, so this is a popular idea amongst the group. That's good to hear. So yes, an opportunity here again for any comments or questions about those new ideas. And I will say there's some others out there as well. And we just we picked several that we wanted to get some feedback on tonight, but I would encourage you to dig into those details and look at all those policies that have been shared recently. There you go, Eunice has posted a list right to it.
Rob, I would maybe add that to the comment about equity, that I appreciate the effort to make sure we're defining it clearly. And I think that there is some work to be done potentially on the wording of some of these policies. I think some of them maybe are more clear about it than others, but I also think the narrative of the overall plan can work to address that. So I think point taken, and we will make sure that that's on our radar. Thank you.
So we wanted to leave some space in the next section just to hear your ideas. Is there anything that we're missing, or ideas that you've seen in other communities that you think, we should do that here in Salem? This is really an opportunity for you can either drop it in the chat or feel free to unmute or stay unmuted. Like, what is it that you like about parks? Something that we should preserve, something that we should continue doing, things you'd like to see changed. Art is good in Gresham and Enterprise as examples. Is it sculptures, or can you explain that, Jeffrey?
Yeah, I'm thinking of the town or the cities in general. Everywhere you see just wonderful artwork, the form of sculptures that often are animals. They're not some abstract cubes or geometric shapes. They are things that kids can identify and really enjoy and have fun seeing all the different animals. So I'd encourage that. Not everybody would agree with that. Art, as you said, is in the eye of the beholder, but my grandkids always get a kick out of visiting towns that have artworks that they can identify and it's like when I take them to the Meyer farm, that potential future open space, they enjoy visiting with the llamas and the horses and so I think animal figures are good in parks and open space areas as well as downtown. Just, it's personal opinion, but that's what our family enjoys.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, I think sometimes it's art can come in a lot of shapes and forms. It can be a mural, it can be painted on the ground, it can be a sculpture. So the more input we get on kind of what folks are interested in, I think that the more it'll help us kind of tailor that if we do end up having a policy around parks, art in parks.
Yeah.
So if there's not any other comments, just want to let let everyone know kind of where we are in the project moving forward, what we're going to be doing next. We're really focusing on doing a lot of outreach on these kind of policy ideas. We have a survey online. We're doing these weekly meetings. We have some meetings with community organizations, and we'll be kind of incorporating all of that to revise our policies and to add new ones, and then present that back to the community and hopefully bring that through the adoption process by the end of the year. As I mentioned earlier, though, the policies related to parks and recreation will be actually carried forward after our Salem through the update to the Parks Comprehensive Master Plan update. There's a comment here, Eola Ridge Parks needs enhancement. There's no playground equipment. Did you want to address that, Rob?
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to. So Eola Ridge Park is a neighborhood park located in West Salem. It is true, it doesn't have much to offer in terms of things to do there now. It is in the city plans out our big capital investments in something we call the 5-year capital improvement plan. And so it forecasts 5 years out. And I just want to let you know that we do have a project in the next 5 years to come back to Eola Ridge and put in some more amenities. So that would probably include a playground.
Great.
I have a question for Rob. Rob, again, we're focused here on Morningside. What are the plans for improving, let's say, Hillside Park? Are there any plans to, and we touched on it earlier, possible expansion of Hillside Park in either the south or to the north. There's open space on both sides. And then I guess you're making a start on improvements to Fairview Park, maybe the historical area. Can you tell us any more about that? Any future improvements in the next year or so?
Sure. I could do my best to take on. So there are kind of 3 parts to that. So the first one is about the development of Hillside Park, which again is another neighborhood park in the Morningside neighborhood.
Yeah.
And it is also in our 5-year capital improvement plan. So that means we do intend to do something there within the next 5 years. If I recall correctly, I think we're going to start by doing some of the natural resource focused efforts there. And then we'll start design on some of the other improvements. So kind of like be a 2-pronged approach. We'll actually start some on the ground, invasive species removal and that type of thing, as well as start to plan and do some design on some of those future amenities. So it's coming. It's in the to-do list. In regards to expansion of the park, the master plan talks about expansion actually to the west of the park to provide neighborhood access to out toward Commercial Street, and vice versa. I think we can entertain some discussions about expanding the park at any time, especially when there's opportunities to do so, as Patricia was speaking to earlier.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a conversation we can carry on. The last part, I think you wanted an update just broadly about Fairview Park.
Yeah.
I last came and spoke to Morningside a few months. It's been more than a few months, but about our plans to do a phase 1 that included the multi-use sports field. It had a very hefty price tag, that first phase of development, and our funding strategy was reliant on a state grant program that we're very worried about. It's been impacted by COVID. Its revenues have, and so at this moment we are exploring the possibility of a different approach to the phase 1, also in light of kind of just what we see going on out there. Lindbergh Road is being developed on the west edge of the park. There's apartments that are now occupied in the Fairview area. There's more homes being built every day. And so maybe some more neighborhood focused amenities might be the priority at this point. So that's something we're kind of exploring right now currently.
Yes. Well, thank you.
Yeah, I hope I hit on everything there.
Yeah, you did. Our focus in the neighborhood is, I think is getting the Service Road, Reed Road, widened and improved. It's totally unsafe for those potential new residents that are moving in we have about 6 or 7, maybe 8 projects that have been discussed or approved along that dangerous street. And that is key to access to your new Reed Road Park, as well as to Fairview Park. So thank you for all you're doing.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah.
So this is just a clip of our project website. So all of our information, which we're constantly updating, is on citysalem.net/oursalem, including a survey that we have up that has a lot more policy ideas if you want to weigh in. It's in English and in Spanish, so please feel free to take it and to share it. And then next week, so that's right. I was going to say next week, we're going to touch back on the environment, natural resources, tree canopy, resiliency. So it's going to be a big topic next week on Wednesday at noon and 5:30. So beyond policies, there's a lot of other work going on with the Our Salem project. And one of those components is our new interactive map that we just launched Monday evening. And so that will allow you to see what the preliminary proposal is for proposed zone changes across the community. And it allows you to zoom in and drop a pin and a comment if you agree or disagree with the proposed zoning on a specific property. So that is online, and I can drop a link to that in the chat as well. In addition, we are actually having our first meeting of a zoning subcommittee on Friday. That subcommittee is made up of 4 city councilors and 4 planning commissioners. They are focused on 6 very specific ideas on how to make changes to the zoning code to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, particularly from transportation. So as an example, they will be looking at whether or not we should be increasing heights or increasing minimum densities along some of our frequent bus routes. So those meetings will be open to the public, and you can sign up to give comment as well, or to send in a comment that we'll pass along to the committee. So again, that's this Friday's the first meeting from 12 to 2. So this is just our contact information in our project website. Feel free to contact me anytime. If I don't have the answer, I will reach out to someone else who probably will have the answer and circle back to you. And if you're having any meetings, if you're a neighborhood association or a community organization and you want us to come talk about a specific topic or all of the above, let us know. We're happy to do that. We're doing a lot of community meetings right now, and we're hoping to talk to as many people as will talk to us. The other meetings, yeah, and I can put those, there's 3 meetings scheduled right now, the zoning subcommittee, and I can pull up that website and drop it in the chat. All 3 meetings are provided, unless Austin beats me to it. Let's see if I can get there. Oh, same topics. No, the zoning subcommittee is it's going to be talking about, again, kind of code changes. So changes to the actual regulations that govern like how tall a building can be, how many units can be built on a piece of property, parking regulations. And we'll start kind of big picture, what are the 6 ideas? And then we'll work with the committee to refine those and see if they want to actually pursue any of them or all of them through those meetings. And so it's very much focused on zoning changes at the code level that could reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And so we did create a project website, or a website for that subcommittee for the upcoming meetings. So the first one's Friday. The next one is May 27th. And then we have one June 21st. And if we need more meetings, we will add on to them. Is there any other questions or comments? Climate Action Plan. Patricia, thank you. Feel free to talk to that. One of the major projects that's going on across the community right now is the Climate Action Plan, and there's a task force meeting on June 23rd at 9 a.m. It'll be on the city's YouTube channel. So a lot of the discussion, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, is on implementation of strategies.
Yes, we'll be talking about implementation and looking at all the different strategies that we've received at this point, and looking at kind of just a rough cost of some of the ideas and also the co-benefits of some of the ideas that that might overlap with equity or with other things that are with our Salem that we've talked about. There's some overlap with some of the ideas as far as transportation and density and access. So if you're interested, if you haven't checked in on any of those, you can watch the past ones that are on the website, salemclimateactionplan.com, or you can tune in on the 23rd.
Great. I will try to find that link as well. Or if someone else can, drop it in the chat. Well, so thank you so much for joining us tonight. We got done early. If you think of anything or you want to follow up on anything, feel free to contact me or Patricia, and we will make sure to keep the discussion going. We will be working on these policies for a while into the future, so feel free to circle back. Thank you so much. Thanks, Rob, Patricia, Austin.
Thanks for taking the time this evening, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good night.